Hello and welcome to Spiral Up. My name's Campbell. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And today we have another interview for you. We're chatting with Taylor Moon today, who is a regression therapist. And basically, we're just having a chat about what's going on in the realm, different challenges people are facing and what we can do to get through this all. So sit back and I hope you enjoy the chat.
So weird. I've been in touch with so many Australian people. I'm like, why the Australians? What's going on with you guys, you know?
Yeah, there's lots going on down here. It's we're suddenly getting we're suddenly part of the world. I think Australia it was sort of down
Yeah.
under, right? And then now it's part of the world stage because of our tyranny, basically, our government.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating. It's not only what's happening with you guys and the tyranny and stuff too. It's how much your land's been infected, your indigenous people. You guys were a big old target.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, most Australians were, so easygoing in that for so long, and then so all this stuff was going on behind the scenes and under the ground, and no one really knew, and now it's everywhere. And I mean, when you look at Australia, it's a bit of a strange place. Like the whole middle of it's like a blast zone, right? I mean, it's just
That's right.
destroyed. Yeah, and
That's
now,
fascinating too, because I feel like I'm kind of in a similar situation. I'm in Florida. So, I'm in the great state of Florida in the United States, right? And I'm very, very lucky to be there, right? I just moved there recently, but I'm also over Disney energy. And I know that Disney
yeah,
has
right.
always been inverted, but think about what's coming forward in this now moment, the same kind of underground stuff you guys have. I think your grid got real distorted, though, don't get me wrong, but I'm starting to notice that too, that the surfacing of what maybe has been going on underneath all of us too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point, Disney, because it's Disney World. Is that right in Florida?
Yeah, Disney World's right there. I'd say like 20 miles south of me. And when I
Wow.
moved here, it was so weird because I was like having memories of going to like Disney as a child, because that's like what my parents did for vacation. That's what a lot of us in the US did for vacation, the happiest place in the world. And I literally have a memory of going to Disney and being on one of the rides. And I was a super sensitive child. I'm talking like emotionally sensitive too, not just energy. But I was crying on one of the rides and nobody knew what was wrong with me. And it really makes me wonder, were they disorienting me as a child? And what else did they maybe per se do with that kind of frequency, right?
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Like all these sort of theme parks, all the rides are pretty much whizzy, 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 and they started off as just slides, really, which don't do that too, and roller coasters, which were fairly just like slides, really, and then it suddenly
Yeah.
all went whiz, 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 didn't it? Yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So how does that all work at the moment with? Because obviously you've got a governor that's standing up and not into all the was it CRT? Is it critical race? Yeah, CRT. Um, and then obviously all this stuff with Disney's come out just what last week.
Right.
Literally, I mean, they just God, they're not even saying welcome boys and girls anymore.
Do you think, I wonder how it is for you guys too. Do you think this is part of the per se show or advancement of this energy of showing how inverted and crazy things like truly can get before people are pushed to their breaking point of, awakening, questioning, and things like that too, right?
I think we had to get to a certain point. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people that. I mean, at this point, can you not be awake? Is the question. Everyone's got to be questioning something, but it's. I think the problem is, are people going to let go of their perceived reality, right? Like the government's good, Disney's good, all this stuff, and so we've had all these trickles come out of, well, everything's not really what you think it is, and then obviously, young Biden's that's sort of ramping up, and so I think now people are at the point that they can question things. Because if this had to come out a year ago, people would be like, Disney? No, Disney. Oh, it's the funnest
They
place
wouldn't let it
on
go.
earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
They
couldn't
just
go there.
continue into the cycle of the normal, per se, normal things that we were doing before. You're right. It had to get to this huge point. But also the interesting thing about, you said, like, people, like, if you're not awake now, if you're not questioning things now, I'm kind of with you. I'm like, holy moly, they are putting it in our faces now to show us how extreme. And I think we can look at it two ways, how extreme it could have been, because I'm a true believer energetically that things are going to be okay. I really energetically feel all is well, this is part of the moving through it. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck. Doesn't mean there's not moments for us who are awakened or like, oh my gosh, is this ride over yet? But I'm a big believer that they're just showing us how bad it could have honestly been, to bring in the new future of what we really want, as well as us getting off the roller coaster sometimes, because some of these things playing out aren't for us anymore. You know, we're aware and awake. We have to sit back and allow the other humans to see what's been going on underneath too, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone's got to do it in their own time. You know, I think a lot of us, you know, want it, we want it now, right? We want it yesterday. It's like, oh, 2 years, come on, just bloody hell. But the thing is, I think, I mean, the time's weird, right? Obviously, timeline. I think that there are more timelines there's more than one timeline running now, and I think that we get the choice that we can, you know, there are people out there living that have never had a mask, don't know what's going on. They're not watching the news, they're just living their lives, and it's not affecting them. And in the end, we can all really do that. And it's when we're trying to wake people up that we're actually jumping back into their timeline rather than walking forward into the new one. You know, we're sort of getting pulled back in and like, but maybe the best way at this point is just to teach by example, right?
Yeah.
Be the change.
That's a beautiful concept too, because that also goes to that broader, higher perspective of respecting people's soul patterns. I like to think back, like when I woke up and all these parts of my awakening journey where I woke up at the most perfect time for me. And that's going to happen for them too. There's going to be one little thing that if they're meant to wake up, they absolutely will. And I know that when I first went through my spiritual awakening into my actual, like, realizing what the government was doing, all the underground stuff going on, it was like I was trying to throw, per se, red pills at people, but people weren't ready to listen to me. And, you know, you just end up getting emotionally your feelings hurt or feeling like the crazy one, which, you know, I don't really mind that too much anymore because I'm detached. But I realized too that, like you said, they're not going to wake up, per se, until they're ready to hear it. They're on their path and ready to accept it too. So that's a whole soul journey, understanding that we have to understand they're on their own journey, just like we were too, right?
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't like it if people came up to, and we don't like it, right? When they come up and they say, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. Wake up, you're trying to kill us. You know, they're coming from a place that what they're saying to them in their reality is true. And so this is why there can definitely be more than one reality here, because, you know, we can never see through another person's eyes or live through their reality. So we don't know really what they're perceiving. So they could be in a world that's, you know, there's some phantom thing going around and killing people. Who knows, right? Because there's this whole NPC thing, right? You heard about the background people, the NPCs, and all of this kind of stuff, which, you know, I think that they, on one hand, could also be part of the, you know, waking up process. You know, that because they're just sort of the ones that are there just belligerent, and they're like the ones that are yelling at people to try and wake them up, like, oh my god, those people are actually crazy, kind of thing. So I mean, what do you think about that? What do you think, how many people do you think are NPCs out there? Like, are we talking most people or little people, or like?
Well, that's so interesting, because this goes back to, like, full circle to Dolores Cannon, and I think she talked about this a little bit in the Three Waves of the Volunteer book. I read those a long time ago, but obviously those, resonated with me. And I've actually been perpetually feeling like I need to get a physical copy and reread it again. So that just affirmed something for me too, getting that physical copy and seeing how it relates to this now moment versus 5 years ago when I read it. And she talked a lot about the background people, or per se NPC, like we've been calling it. I think there's a lot, and I think they're part of the AI simulation. But I think I'm wondering, as I look at it from a broader perspective, and I'd love to hear your take on this too, if this energy has been quantumly per se taken over. I know there's still negative AI. Don't get me wrong. I've seen the negative AI, the black goo, that stuff. But I also am wondering if this program is also getting flipped on its head, right? Like you said, these people are a part of the awakening now, because it's just so like, it's almost like too much in your face, that the amplification of the energy isn't sneaky or undercover anymore. It's which could perpetually wake some more people up,
Yeah, yeah, I keep thinking of that interview that Kamala Harris did when she's going, Russia's a country in Europe and Ukraine's a smaller country. And it's like, yeah, thanks for that, Kamala. All right, I'm going to university now.
I know it hurts. It hurts sometimes, doesn't it? You're like,
it does, but it's got to be for a reason, right? It's got to be that crazy that people are like, they're holding on. Oh no, Kamala's good. She's, she's there for, and then they see that and they're like, all right, I'm out. She's a nutcase. I'm out. It's just got to keep getting crazier and crazier, right? Like, the president's sons are, we know what's going on there, It's like, okay. And
isn't that
2 years ago, people were like trusting Biden, he's the best for our country. And now they have to come to terms with, well, he's raised a child like this. And next, guess what's coming next? It's then going to be, who's Biden, right? It's like, so it's these massive drops, right? And it's going to get to the point, in my opinion, where it's going to be, something will come out that is undeniable, right?
Isn't it like even though we know it's fake and distorted, even the news is going to have to report on whatever this monumental thing is, or else they're part of the co-conspiracy. But we already know they are, right? But for the public stage, they would have to report on whatever that may be. And it's fascinating too, because whatever that being of Joe Biden, whether he's, people say robot, or he's MK Ultra, or he's an actor, whatever he is, it's almost to the point of it being kind of hilarious. Like, and I don't mean in a mean way if that's a real person. I mean in a way of like, oh my gosh, what a funny thing to see happening. But I was also it was so interesting that the gas price thing here, that really, really helped wake people up, because it was part of their physical reality. Like you said, different things being able to wake people up. Gas prices is something physical that, the people have to actually, it's in their reality. Maybe the spiritual stuff isn't yet, but gas is a part of their three-dimensional life at this time. So even that, making them question things, that was a little exciting. But like you're talking about the bigger stuff, we need to celebrate those victories as a collective of the awakened, because it's kind of exciting. We're allowed to be excited. Of course, if we're tired, we need to jump off the train and take self-care, but it's okay to be excited. Some of this stuff is cool.
Oh yeah, well, and that's something that we haven't been doing. Everyone's sort of been in this state of almost apprehension, isn't it? It's like this, we're getting there, but show me a sign. And we see these things about that everything's being obviously tainted by the media. And at the moment, I think the media are, they're going to end up helping us and cooking themselves, because they're going to try and save themselves, but it's going to end up exposing them for everything, because they're going to have to do a 180-degree flip, which they're doing already with, I don't even know if we can say the word right, with the laptop. A year and a half ago, it was Russian disinfo. Now it's on the main MSN, right? So it's, and that's only so
that's a victory, right?
Yeah, it is. That's them going, oh, let's just throw him under the bus and see if we can get out of here. And this is going to keep happening, I think, but because these people, they don't care. They don't have any, any morals. Is that the right word? They don't care about each other. They'll just do anything to save themselves. And that's, one of our biggest, victories ahead, I think. they're just going to start throwing each other under the bus.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a beautiful disaster in a way too, isn't it? It's gonna be messy, and we have to hold space for the collective that are unawakened and know that everything's gonna be okay. Of course, not releasing our boundaries, but we hold in our knowing everything's gonna be okay. But we also can feel. I'm having so many people come to me recently with feelings. There's a couple different energies, feeling really stuck, like in this hanged man position, like why hasn't the money system collapsed? Why am I still stuck in this old job, this old marriage? Like you can feel them on the brink of knowing something's about to push forward. And the other side is the people who are so empathic that they're feeling the anxiety of not only the solar weather, right? Like I think we have another CME coming in tomorrow. Like it's been pretty crazy for the past 2 weeks. So not only are they feeling that energy, they're feeling the anxiety of the collective, because I believe subconsciously, even the unawakened, they energetically have to know things are brewing, even if it's not their truth yet. There's something brewing, and they must know it energetically, because people are coming to me talking about their anxiety and stuff. How have you been feeling with all the energy and shifts and everything playing out in this now moment for you guys?
It's been an interesting year, that's for sure. Excuse me. The last month, or not even month, I guess probably 2 or 3 weeks, it seems to be in a lull. It seems to have just gone bleh, and it's just sitting there. And so I'm sitting there waiting for something to happen almost. It feels like there's a lot building in the background. And we're getting like inklings of it, what it might be. But of course, this is the thing, we don't have proof, right? And we're not going to get proof, because this is a war, right? You don't put your plan out so the enemy can find it. Like that's just the way it is. So we're never going to get confirmation until we're past the fact, which is what we're in, right? All this disinfo. Like we've got half the people saying, "Oh no, it's all crap, it's all lies, you're an idiot," and the other half saying, "No, it's true," and with no proof. But I think with all that is what we're missing is we create what we believe, right?
Ooh, yeah. And there's another aspect of that. I love what you just said, because that goes with something that came forward today in a read, or a couple days ago in a read for me. But the other thing you said is we don't know, and how we've been searching and digging for so long and looking for information. And I think that's beautiful. I'm so glad we got to experience that and take in information, move through it. Does this feel good? This doesn't feel good. What resonates? What doesn't? That's a great lesson to learn. But now going into this place of acceptance and like allowing that, like you said, we create our reality, but also allowing that it's okay to be surprised. It's okay that we don't know every step of the journey for once in our lives, letting go and surrendering to the fact that, wow, this is divine and everything will happen at divine timing. But like you said, taking control of what you want in your life, question things. If this doesn't feel good in my life, then I start to make steps to shift, alchemize, and change that. And it's interesting you're talking about creating reality, because that's been coming forward a lot too. So a lot of people have been asking about their past lives per se and things like that. Well, a lot of these people are extremely multidimensional. So it's like whatever past life needs to comes up for that reason of this is what you need in this now moment. Your memories aren't going to come flooding back to you, because think about all that information you already hold on top of, all the other stuff energetically, cellular data we hold. But I actually had a read a couple days ago, and they pulled in 2 lives for me. They pulled in an Indigenous life and a Lemurian life. These were the Earth lives that they wanted to pull in. And they all had the same connection. She wanted to know, how she exited, or, what happened to her in that life. But her team didn't want to talk about that. They didn't want to talk about the perceived negative. They wanted to talk about what from that life do you want to bring forward into this coming new energy into your life. And that was the connection with Earth, her connection with herself, her flowing with energy versus, technology and AI, even though I do believe there's going to be beautiful tech coming in from a galactic standpoint, but her connection with the Earth and how important that was to her. So it's like they don't want to talk about the perceived negative anymore. They want to talk about, well, what do you want to take with you? You choose. What from this life did you respect? Bring that forward and start to integrate it into your life, and just hold it in your knowing and in your visualizations too. That connection, whatever that may be for a different person. Hers was the Earth, but
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different way of looking at the world, right, and life and all this kind of stuff, because we've been just programmed really that everything's physical, and the way to make things happen is to go out and move physical things around. But we're starting to realize that doesn't work, right? It's all what you believe and where you're putting your energy and what you've learned. And even you know, because there's so much questioning, isn't there? Everyone wants to know, you know, tarot, give me a tarot reading for next week. What's happening this week? What's happening today? When's it? Blah, 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 blah. But that's also, I mean, you know, you can understand that, but it's also not a creative space, is it? It's sort of this, it's almost like a why is this happening to me kind of an energy, rather than focusing, like you said, where do you want to go, where do you want to be, what do you want to experience, focus on that and work towards that, and the rest just tends to fall away and become, you know, insignificant when you do that, because obviously what we focus on grows, right? So if we're just asking, well, see, the problem is it's not asking questions when you, because you're not the one asking the question when you're asking someone, you know, what's going to happen, and so it's giving away your power again, right?
That's what I was thinking in my head. Yeah, I was just thinking that in my head. Thank you.
Bit of telepathy there.
I know that.
But yeah, so I mean, and I don't want to put anything down against, you know, readers now. I think it's you know, it's at this point, it's, you know, it's good energy to get out there if you're saying, you know, if you've got the right message, I guess. But we've got to sort of make sure that we're not putting all our focus into because it's really, that focus is I don't control reality. I'm not creating it. I'm asking them what's going to happen, rather than asking myself what's going to happen. And if we ask ourselves, then we can go, well, this, and then we can make it. All right.
I think that's so important too, because we're looking for timing. Timing's the other thing that keeps coming up, and a lot of energy has been coming forward about divine timing. And in the quantum realms, I make this joke, it's kind of terrible, but it's kind of true. So for a while, whenever higher dimensional aspects of people came in, specifically through the hypnosis sessions, the first thing would come in back in the day would be like, in the future, never giving us a timing. Like, it was just not a thing. Quantum realm, bringing it into our three-dimensional timing, it was just, it can be done, but it's just not realistic. It can be dropped in and we can get rough estimates, but there's a broader perspective of that it'll happen in divine timing. But it used to be like future into soon, and recently I'm getting this weird energy of being blocked and hearing very soon. Don't worry about it. Very soon, fruition soon. Keep visualizing it. And it's interesting because it's a repeat pattern. We've been feeling so stuck for so long and craving these timings. Why can't we just hold in our knowing that it's coming too? You know, hold that in our knowing too, that it is coming. And what can I do in this now moment to try and get off the roller coaster of time and dates? Because we've been through this for such a long time. I'm sure you went through this a couple times, maybe, where there's this emphasis on a date, or like, and I get excited sometimes too, if I play into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. And then something doesn't happen. And it can really externally affect your internal, right? And then you got to pick yourself up from that again. So we got to know when to exit the ride too. Like, we got to exit the ride sometimes and take care of ourselves, do something we enjoy, holding our knowing it's coming. And then if we want to get back on the ride and enjoy ourselves again, and we're detached from the time and dates, we can do that. You just have to navigate differently now. It's so weird, because I don't do it anymore, but I used to get really like, if the date came and I was like really set on it, it would really disappoint me, you know?
Yeah, of dates. I mean, yeah, I've sort of talked about it a couple of times in the first year, and then no, it's not, because the thing is with dates is, I mean, apart from the fact there's no time, it's everyone hits this place at a different time. So if someone's saying this is it may happen for them in their reality, and we're looking from our point of view, and it's not happening for us. And I mean, I think that in those points, we've got to, you know, if we understand that, you know, that, well, maybe it is happening for them and not for me, it's a different perspective. And then we can say, well, what can I do to get there faster? You know, always bring it back to the self, rather than pushing it out there. And it's like, oh, that person, they said this would happen and it didn't. It's their fault. They suck. Rah rah rah.
Right.
We don't. Like I said before, we can never live someone else's life, so we don't know if they're experiencing. They might be on on a different timeline where it's already happened, and they're like, look, and we can't see it, and we're like, but you.
But they see it, and that goes back to what you were saying too, about their truth too, right? who knows what's happening into their reality. And we have to understand they're on their own path. And like you said, not place judgment or place external energy on them in any way. We shouldn't have expectations on other people and their truth. And as well as, like you said, not being angry at them for making wrong predictions. Maybe it's not a wrong prediction. Like you said, maybe it's their time and their timeline and their energy and their surroundings, right?
Yeah. I think this is the thing, because it's all vibration and frequency, right? So you can imagine that if someone's vibrating just a little bit higher than you on a frequency, then they can probably see all you can see plus a bit more, you know, or maybe not all you can see, maybe not the lower stuff, and so they've got a different view of what they're looking at. And that's all it is, because I think that's what this energy shift is the way I see it. We could have 1,000 realities in this physical space happening right now, but you've got to be on the right, it's like a radio, right? You've got to tune into the right frequency.
That's so true, because I can feel so many, and I'm sure you're like this too. I can feel so many different things at once. If I want to go down, like I try not to too oftenly, but I can feel it if I need to, whatever the collective's going through. But then there's this out of body disconnection I can get into too, where I like leave my body and I just like leave her alone, and I forget to be a human, and I forget to take care of myself, practicing my own self-care. And I'm just up here in this like being a cloud observing. So there's this beautiful balance of like, yes, I'm a spiritual being, but I'm also, you know, a human having a human experience as well. And there will be a point again where I can live, you know, more multidimensional, but I think we're integrating those multidimensional aspects of the self between two worlds, right? Like I kind of feel like that sometimes. I'm living in like you said, multiple timelines, but multiple realities too, all at once. And I'm like, where do I want to be? Right.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. Yeah, maybe we've got all these timelines, right? And we've got the worst, from the worst scenario to the best, and it's literally, where do you want to choose to be? Because we're living them all concurrently, but we only so I was talking to someone, I forgot what they called it, but basically there's one, you know, life that'll be your main sort of perspective life, which is what you're experiencing, and the others are just kind of in the background happening or have happened. And we get to choose, and that's how people can jump from timelines. They're literally jumping into different lives, if you want, into different realities. There was a guy called, I think he's called Bert Goldman, who used to talk about quantum jumping. And have you heard of him? He was an older guy. I think he's still around. And he sort of was just a normal guy up until his 50s or something. And then he wrote a book, a best-selling book, and he started painting pictures that were getting hung in museums and all these just random, really amazing things. But he'd like paint like 3 pictures, and then he'd stop, and they'd be like these amazing pictures. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm just jumping timelines." He would literally say, "I find a timeline where I'm an amazing artist, and I go in and I live that, and I get the inspiration, and I can then because it's me. I can then reproduce it in this life." And then and that's literally what he was saying. He was calling it quantum jumping, and he's just saying, "I'm just jumping to the timeline where what I want to learn is there. I learn it, and I come back." So
I'm having so much of this quantum jumping come up into my reality. So it's like super fascinating that you're bringing this up, because I wonder if there's going to be a now moment that's going to assist people with, I don't know if it's like the exit of the simulation. I don't know if it's the complete frequency. I think we're raising our frequency in every now moment, but what is this? Because I keep seeing something where, you know how you're seeing all the timelines and you're very aware of the multi-layered of the timelines. I just see this energy where something snaps and there's a bridge. I don't know if it's the Rainbow Bridge of Ascension. I don't know exactly what it is, but some sort of bridge is about to perpetuate people onto, I don't want to say the highest divine timeline, but like the divine timeline, like you said, that's meant for their experience. And I keep seeing it, and I keep seeing it in my head of like a snap. And this timeline just, it's for each and every person uniquely, wherever they need to be, but it helps push them up somehow. And I don't know if it's the escape from the simulation or if it's the something about the Rainbow Bridge of Ascension too, because that's kind of what they just showed me in my head, was that bridging, some sort of bridge to help people, you know, where we go one, we go all. Like, what is that? Like, you know, and you know, bringing that up, but like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well, that's an interesting phrase now that you mention it, isn't it? Right? It's very, very, very oneness, isn't it? I mean, yeah, this is, you know, because, and then there's the concept of are there imposed timelines and lives? Because all this programming, right? Like, we can only perceive what we believe is real or what we have reference points for, right? So that's why they start on us so young, because we come out going, oh, you know, I'm a fairy or I'm a prince. Oh, look, there's dragons. Oh, look, I've got an imaginary friend and all that. And then you know, but then you hit 4 or 5. Oh, sorry, no. Imaginary friends must die now. You can't do that. How dare you? Don't look out the window. Don't daydream. And then they put in. So I mean, has that fractured somehow our perceptions? And so literally, we could have 4 lives or 5 lives split off from now, and that bridge could be just getting back to the real one, right? Getting rid of all that programming that we believe is real. Because if we believe that, you know, for instance, there's global warming, you know, that's what we're going to see and that's what we're going to create. But that's all false, right? That's just a belief system. So
Right.
I don't know. It's just a concept. Like, are there those different realities? And then all we need to do is realize it's all crap, and they sort of disappear, and we end up back in our proper timeline. And we're like, oh, okay, now I can see without the
Campbell
filters.
trippy. Yeah, because I saw an inverted. So I guess it goes back to that, like like you said, they inverted everything, not only inversion of our grid system, but also, like you said, the programming starting so young and saying those things aren't real. But like, what if those are the real things, and the program they put on us is the fake, false reality? So it's almost like taking back that inversion and making it like per se organic again. And that would be, like you said, realizing those things that they've been telling us is that time quantum jump is realizing that everything was a program and breaking free from it, right?
And it just collapses in on itself. And that's also getting back to the creator, really, isn't it? Because all this, you know, reality is it's the false creator. Like, this is what whatever you want to call us, just tend to call them parasites. They want to be God, right? They want to be God on earth. So they have to create their own creation. But so they create this crappy inverted creation. And when we believe that's real and that's reality and we live into it, well, they're our gods. They win. But when we see all the lies and it collapses, well, then we're literally getting back to the source, back to the real creation, right? Which is nature and all this kind of stuff.
That's so fascinating. That's why they made us. I see this in my head too. Like when we look at celebrities and idolizing celebrities, thankfully most of us got off the celebrity train quite a while ago. But like that energy too, that's harvesting energy and illusion. What happens whenever they can't get that from us anymore? You're right. It's like a crumble of that system or whatever was placed over it's almost like the eyes. I'm seeing eyes and they're like blurry, right? But then the system, if it can't be held up anymore based off the energy, your eyes are clear again. You know, the clearing of after the rain, whatever you want to call it. But it's interesting. You're talking about that whole system in general, almost like a grid too, collapsing. I think it's really interesting to see it that way too, mentally. Wow.
I think that's I sort of talk of it as an overlay, like a program on top of a program. And then once we realize that top program is the false one, then it literally disappears, right? And we end up back in have you seen that movie Free Guy?
Not yet, but I've heard a lot of people say there's a lot of like little you know, things in there. I've heard that about a lot of movies recently, that they're starting to put like
well, this is another thing. Why are they putting all these drops in movies? Like if Hollywood's, you know, so evil and everything's evil and we're, you know, being run by it and there's no good out there, then how's this all getting in? This is how I know there's good something, right? Either white hats or good AI or whatever you want to call it, that's inserting these bits in there, right, for people to see. But in Free Guy, it's like it's a computer game, and someone writes it and then someone steals it off them, and they literally put an overlay program on the top to change it. And that's where they're living in, and that's where all it's like what's that car game where you go around killing people? God, whatever that
GTA, is that the right one?
Something like that. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, yeah. So like that, right? Everyone's running around stealing each other's money, and just, you know, one of those kind of games. And that's the overlay. And at the end, the president who originally created it takes that overlay off, and it's this amazing island. It's all nature, you know, it's all, you know, water and animals and stuff. So it's a really good analogy for where we are, like, because that overlay, it's not real, but if you believe it is, it becomes real, and that's what you live. And then, so that's what this, you know, awakening is. Because, you know, apocalypse, right? It's a lifting of the veil, like literally, you know. We're seeing that.
No, I love that. I love that that's the real definition.
Yeah, isn't it? It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we are, I think, is like I think we're definitely in the apocalypse, and the veil's lifting, and that's just us realizing that we've been falling for lies and living lies, and it's all crap. And once we understand that, then it all changes.
Yeah. And it's so true too. I've been wondering this for a while, but obviously we see a lot of people on the political stage being actors, you know, too, but also those celebrities, like, are these even the same people? Like, are they just using these people? Are some of them, you know, made, you know, plea deals, or is it clone, like, or did they get rid of all the I don't even know anymore, because I feel like everything's controlled. But I'm starting to, it's actually been like the past year, I'm starting to see the trickles of like, oh, they're showing us the beauty of things too. They're telling us truth in little pieces that the, you know, maybe the collective can have in their subconscious or understand, like you said, in movies. I'm with you. I believe the white hats have taken over pretty much everything at this point.
Well, if they haven't, how are we here? Like, seriously,
yeah.
we, like, how powerful is the cabal? Like, we know that, I mean, you know, BlackRock, right? 98%, they own it all. So if they really had full control, and they really were pushing, and they really wanted their 500,000 slaves, we'd be way down the line.
Yeah.
We really would. There'd be UN troops in every, you know, country. It'd be a lockdown world state. So there has to be, in my opinion, there just has to be. And when you see, I mean, and then you see Biden, it's just like, well, come on.
Yeah,
clearly.
I was that watching from Australia too, because, you know, people here are so politically motivated. It's a huge deal here. If you liked Mr. T, you were, oh my Lord, especially if they watched a lot of media, or they were in, you know, a couple movements per se, like you said, that got distorted. For example, the global climate, whatever they call it now, Green New BS, what, you know, Mr. T calls it. But I think we're supposed to love our earth, but I think they inverted that. You know, it's like they trick us with empathy tricks too, right? Yeah. They want you to feel sorry for people and things, give us your money, but like, it's like, that doesn't add up, not energetically to me, you know?
No, that's how they've always got us, because that's our biggest weakness, is our biggest strength, right? Is we're loving creatures. We want to see the best in people. We don't want to live in a world where we have to ask, are they lying to me? You know, we want to believe that people are good, and we want to help people and make things better. So that's what they use against us. You know, don't buy that. Are you trying to kill the planet? Don't you care about future generations? I mean, look what's happening in Europe at the moment. You know, support these people. Oh my God, or you're evil. You know, pay more for your gas, and that way you're doing the right thing. And it's like, but there's no information behind that. It's just this schoolyard bullying, right? Join our group, or you're an idiot. You know.
Well, another good example of that, from especially being in Florida, my standpoint of this, and, you know, I'll try and be careful, but they called it like a don't say GAY bill. And I don't have any problem with that word. It's just, I don't want them to call out that bill on your on YouTube, you know, because, you know, sometimes, but with that, you know, there's like, feel bad for the children and the parents who can't talk about, you know, say the word gay. And it's like, you guys haven't even read the bill. Like, why is sexual anything? I'm not even talking about, like, it doesn't even matter. It's not even the age where they're going through puberty and they should talk about it. It's literally K through third grade. Like, guys, it's obvious. And I think it's so obvious on purpose. You know, I think I get it. I get why they're amplifying it. Yeah. But there's really people that do feed into that, and they're tricking humans and telling humans, you know, you have to feel bad for these children and their parents. And it's like, I hold empathy for anyone who's confused, absolutely, but there is absolutely no reason anything sexual should be going into children that young. You know, that's where my head is, and I feel like most people would understand that. So I think that's the purpose of doing that too, and making Mr. DeSantis look like a bad guy, like they did with Mr. T. You know, I think they do that to a lot of people. This is the bad guy, this is the good guy, but it's like, damn, if you look at anything Hillary Clinton, like, you know, that's not a good person. Come on,
Mm.
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Queen.
Oh, the Queen. Oh,
I know we're
God.
talking about stuff. So how does that work with you guys? Are you guys have a prime minister, don't you?
Yeah, we have a prime minister. We're supposed to have a queen, but they changed all of they basically went and changed everything in 1973 and wrote the queen out,
Wow.
and they invented the Queen of Australia, who doesn't exist. So we're under the Queen of Australia in their, you know, their false kind of thing that they've tried to put in, but we're supposed to be under the Queen of England.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and so under the Queen of England, we actually have a lot more rights and things. And when it comes down to it, ultimately, anything the government says is under the power and jurisdiction of the Queen of England. So, and then we have a right to see your accuser in court. So if the Queen of England is the head of state, then anything the government say, like even a parking ticket, you can walk into court and say, I want to see my accuser. Bring the Queen here. And if they don't bring the Queen, they've got to throw it out of jail, or out of court. So and so I think that's probably why they got away with it, right? So they took away our sort of our biggest kind of fail safe. But they literally changed, rewrote the Constitution, rewrote all the bills and that, and it's all false now. And it's in Australia, it's a lot more like we're not really that into politics. Nothing like America, you know. We're definitely not. Yeah. And everyone's more like, oh yeah, she'll be right, mate. Oh, we'll just he sucks, so we'll just vote the other guy in this time and see what happens. But all the time, like there's been a lot going on in Australia, and it's unfortunately that it's been unchecked, and it's now probably one of the worst, you know, infested places as far as these, you know, P files, can we call them that? They're everywhere.
Bring the rats up. Bring them up. That's what I've been seeing recently is like I see you guys in your grid, which, you know, based on the natural grid, Australia holds, I mean, even Medina told me this, that and I felt this before, the ancient DNA, beautiful energies. Wasn't Mu theirs? MU, am I saying that right? Yeah, that was energy that's in, you know, that grid. Of course they'd want to distort that and make it underground and disgusting, but how hidden is that? Like it's so hidden to the point where now you guys are seeing it surface. So I think as it bubbles up and surfaces, it looks probably a little nutty over there. And in your flooding too, holy moly, like we don't know about what goes on with you guys, not really.
No, I can't believe that didn't go, like apparently that didn't go around the world at all. And literally it's all of New South Wales. It's pretty much a whole state. The whole coast of it is you know, under, it's like millions of people affected. Like
Wow.
The water was like up over traffic lights in some places, like you know, 2-story houses going underwater and stuff. So, you know, obviously all electrics are fried and all destroyed and that, and the government have done nothing at all. That they haven't sent the army in. They haven't. Literally all the police that were running around arresting people for not, you know, having their things on their faces, they all disappeared.
Instead of worrying about.
Yeah. And to the point where we have like the SES, the State Emergency Service, you know, when it happened, people started rolling up saying, yeah, we want to help, we want to volunteer. And they were literally, the first question was, have you had your thing in your arm? And if they said no, they were like, go away, we can't use you, we don't want you here. And so literally, and in this, it's an area where there's a lot of awake people. So literally no one volunteered. They just told everyone to go home. And so everyone just had to go and do it themselves. So the government, you know, and we know they were controlling the weather, and they've done it. And then they've literally just left them all. Then they did a big fundraiser through, you know, one of these charities, raised like $30 million or something. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Nothing's happened. That money has not gone to the people. It's not gone to help anyone. it's just been stolen, gone into someone's pocket, probably.
Probably, honestly, probably. Do you guys, so I know that everything is happening for a reason and that we're going to see some of these things play out, not only for waking up the collective, but for also cleansing purposes. I really felt this when I was talking to Medina too. I asked her this, and I'd love to hear your perspective too. Do you feel like you guys are going, because of your grid, like, do you feel like you guys are going through like an extreme, also, of course, the water, or the weather and energy modification, that's on dark. I mean, we're pretty aware of that, but do you think it's in combination or in something with clearing up the yucky goo and grid?
Yeah, I think it's a cleansing, right? Water's emotional. It's I think it's taking a lot of the, inbuilt emotions that are in the land, all the pain and all the suffering that's gone on there. Because New South Wales, the area where it's happening too, is pretty much the most populated, large area of Australia, and it's where, before, pre-English people coming here, where there was big populations, and so you can imagine what went on there, because there's no big indigenous populations there anymore. So it's an area where there's a lot of, scars in the land, and there's also a lot of sacred places around there, and the Blue Mountains and different, places like that. So yeah, I see that for sure. I think it's a washing. And the other thing that someone mentioned is, all the stuff that got destroyed was all this crappy made in China stuff, like furniture, right? Like all this chipboard, that's
Oh yeah.
glue and sawdust, and they tell you it's wood. It all got destroyed, but everything that was actual solid hard wood and made properly, it's all fine. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of fascinating too. That's a cleanse in itself of getting rid of things that are false. I know it's just furniture, but that's symbolic in itself, right?
It's soulless. Like, it's made in factories. They literally pulverize the trees. They don't even use planks of wood. They just pulverize them, and it's sawdust and glue is what they use in all these desks. And they've all got right angles on them. They're made in factories by machines, by people who don't want to be there. And you put that against a piece of wood, where someone's spent years learning a trade, and then they're spending their time and they've got their hands on it and they're crafting it. It's a completely different energy. That furniture has, a soul, right? It has energy. But stuff from a factory is just, it's soulless.
It goes to food too. Think about, and I just saw a shoe fact. I saw Nike, which is so distorted, but I saw Nike factory in my head, and I was like, oh, think about how they want us to cover our feet and the energy being put into the shoes. And then food came up when you were talking to. Holy heck, the energy they have put into our food and our water too. I mean, I know that we're shifting, and I do think that there's this energy of like, I don't really like the fear mongering per se, but we have to be realistic about what people are going through. I actually think part of the food shortage scare, that might have something to do with cleansing the food industry of maybe some of the things they also had put in not only the cargo, but also maybe in our food. So I wonder if there's a big cleanse of that too.
Yeah, well, that might be why there's a shortage. Exactly, that it could be they're getting rid of the old stock, and it takes a while to get new stuff in that's different. I think another reason is because, and I don't, I'm not into fear, and I don't think we're going to get to the point where people are going to be starving. I really don't. But I think that just the thought of it is making people go and plant veggie gardens.
I was just thinking about gardening. Yeah, that's such a great point. It would push people to just try that form of food,
Try, yeah, exactly. And everyone's talking about it. And so just little things like that. It's just changing the way that we view the world and the way that we see it. And ultimately we shouldn't be buying any processed food, but if you're getting something from the supermarket or whatever, and then you're filling the rest of the plate with veggies from your garden, well, that's so much better, than what we've got now.
Yeah, it's like with everything, we're gonna make these beautiful jumps, but it has to start somewhere too with our intentions. And even just like growing, like you said, even like a little bit of veggies for your plate, that already starts to shift the frequency of the food, but yourself too, as you allow yourself to just like, kind of like, I mean, I'm lame, I bless my tea and my water because I don't do it all the time, but if I feel like I need to, I do. And that just shifts even if it's per se placebo effect, which I don't believe in. I believe energy is the key, right?
Mm.
So even if it just makes me feel a little bit better by blessing my tea or my water, that alchemization, that starts my process of my day for me to even have, you know, a better per se day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works as well. Have you heard of Dr. Emoto?
I'm
Dr.
so,
Dr.
I'm
Emoto.
so bad at this stuff.
Check him out. He freezes water crystals.
Oh,
So he gives intention like to glasses of water, and he does it by speaking to them or by even just like sticky taping a word on a piece of paper. He'll like stick love on one and then hate on another one, and then he
I feel like
leaves them for a
someone,
few days or a week, and then he gets the water and freezes it and looks at it under a microscope. Yeah, you got to go check it out. Like for things like love, you just get these amazing geometric, really, you know, intricate designs. When you put hate on it, it's just this, just nothing. It's not even a structure. So
yeah,
literally talking to you what it does, and then of course we're 70% water.
yeah. Look in the mirror and say, hey, I love you, right? And then you start to mess with your quantum cellular data, right?
Indeed.
I know
Yeah.
it's kind of a joke, but it's like, I always tell people this, like, as they're learning, you know, to go back into this place of self-care, it's like, well, if you can't love yourself yet, try and practice self-care, but also how can you take the steps to begin to love yourself again? Well, you say nice things to yourself. It doesn't have to be cocky. It doesn't have to be anything, but like, hey, you, good job today. And energy, that starts the alchemy process within the self too. And there's going to be, and I think it's, to be realistic, there's going to be times we feel like crap, but having these tools in our tool belt to be able to, okay, I feel the crap. I process the crap. I need to cry. I need to yell in my pillow, and it's okay. However I need to survive is okay. But then after I feel the emotion, I'm not going to stay in that. I'm going to start to shift it. How can I shift it? Self-care, do something you enjoy, try and love yourself and say those things to yourself. Like it's a process. It's a process. We've been so programmed for so long. It's a process to bring that back. Self-care,
Yeah. People just, you know, if they can get to a point where they can focus on the wins, you know, like you were saying before, and celebrate when they get something, just however small, then that starts the process. Because like you said, we've been programmed, you know, look at the school ground, right? We've been literally programmed to not say, I'm good at this. Yeah, I like myself for this. Oh, you know, all this kind, and even as far as talking out loud, you know, we're programmed that it's weird to walk around saying, today's going to be awesome. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be great. And, you know, everything comes my way, and every day in every way it gets better and better. That we're taught that makes you a weirdo. But when you think about it, that's speaking creation. That's creating, that's changing your physicality, it's changing your energy, it's changing the outside energy, it's interacting, it's what we should be doing. And so, I mean, this is the thing, right? If everything's inverted, then pretty much you can look at the system and go, well, I just do the opposite of everything they say, and I should be good.
It's so true. That's funny because I was that kid. I was the kid with the, and I'm sure you can relate too, but I was the kid with the imaginary friend. I talked to myself. I was extremely emotional, and, you know, they tried to do the medicine thing and all that, but I always didn't feel like I was per se the weird one, because these were things that were very natural to me. And it goes, like you said, back to our childhood before the programming comes in. How were we as children? And it's funny because I never felt like I was a weird one until society told me I was a weird one, or, you know, the medicine, they needed to be on medicine, or that there was something wrong with me. So isn't that interesting? Our beliefs as a child, that free, loving, care, nurturing energy that we have as child, and it really wasn't us. It was the school systems and society, and like you said, the broader program that distorted and inverted that, right? I'm fine talking to myself. I talk to myself literally all the time.
I think we all should. We should all do it more. I was the same. You know, I went to lots of schools, so I was, you know, always a new kid. So I came out, you know, pretty shy. I was fairly, I don't know if I was shy as a kid, but I was more of a watcher. I think I was just like, what, these people are crazy. What are they doing? I just sit there
What are these humans doing?
They're crazy. It's but this is a thing. And then we hit adulthood and we realize, well, hopefully a lot of us, we realize, oh, that's just all crap. You know, I can actually say what I want. No one's going to laugh at me. It's all just this perceived ridiculousness. So everything that we believe as well is most of it's not based on anything but peer
Yeah.
pressure and peer grief, and there's nothing behind it. So if we sit and think, oh, well, what's really there? Can that happen? We kind of diffuse it. It's just when we hold ourselves in this state of, oh, other people, what will they think? Oh, how embarrassing. That's when it
Right.
affects us, because they get us with shame and all this kind of stuff and
Oh,
blah, blah,
shame.
blah.
They went for shame these past 10 years, ever since, well, the conspiracy theorist thing started a long time ago, but they ramped up the shame frequency, which is almost lower for it. If I look at it, the chart, it is a lower frequency than fear, like feeling that shame and the shame that's been in this earth for such a long time, over generational. We're also healing that ancestrally and for the earth too. It's a
Mm.
lot of energy for humans to feel, and it's such a perceived negative emotion, you know?
It is, and yeah, it's a big one. I mean, it was just so instilled in children, and then that gets passed on to people who have children, right? And so then the first wave is the government or whatever putting it in, then the parents do it to their own kids, right? And we
Yeah.
get this sort of thing, and then of course when it's your parent telling you that you're not good enough, then it's a lot more impacting, right? And so then we can see how that affects people, with all these people who are too, because most people know what they want and what they want to do. They seem too afraid to take the first step, to trust themselves, to believe they can do it. It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'd rather just sit here and if I don't try, well, no one will laugh at me, and that feels like it'll be better than if people laugh at me, even if I don't get what I want. So it's this,
Yeah.
it's such a big externalization of the persona, right? Who are you? Because now who are you is, what do you look like? How tall are you? How much
Yeah.
money have you got? What's your job? What's your Instagram profile like? How many followers do you have? And it's all this
I can't wait for the
externalized
internet
stuff.
to go down.
Yeah, wow, it might be. Yeah, soon. I've heard. I
I
don't
was
know.
I know. I've had a couple things come forward about that too. It's fascinating you're talking about all these things that are so external. As we've noticed over the past couple of years, like I said, people, and you know this, people are questioning everything in their lives now, even their blood, their family units, when in the past, blood is thicker than water, and believing that. But now there's so much tribulation in the family unit, and feeling shame from the family units, especially, the awakened were incarnated into these families for particular reasons too, all spread out. But it's also this energy of like, as we go through this change and we see things fall away, including people, we let go of those people because now we're going to be able to bring forward those aspects of the self. And maybe those people were pulled away or burned away energetically, so that you can start to peel off that layer. What did you like to do as a kid? Peel off that layer. You were never allowed to do that. So what are you drawn to? And just starting that process. Like someone told me, they're like, I forgot I liked puzzles. I used to like to do puzzles as a kid. I just started doing puzzles again. I was like, exactly. Like, how fun is that? And meditative is that? And they're probably getting messages. Like, the best way to get messages from your higher aspects of yourself is to feel joy or be present in that moment. So she was already, connecting to an old aspect of the self that's always been there, but able to peel away all the expectations from all these external sources too, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
beautiful.
mean, yeah, and art's a big one, isn't it? I mean, God, it's just horrendous what we go through. I mean, how many people sort of discover that or they start painting or doing art of some kind again when they're like 40 or 50, and they're like, oh yeah, I used to do this when I was 5. But then I did a picture and the teacher told me I was an idiot and everyone laughed at me. So I haven't done it for 40 years. And then they're like, but it's really cool. I mean, this is the thing. And it's weird that art is judged. Like, art is expression.
Yeah, it's
How
expression.
can you judge someone's expression? I'm sorry, you have expressed yourself incorrectly. That is a bad way. I mean, this is literally what you're being told, right? So you got a little kid saying, this is the world and this is what I want, or this is how I see it. And then these adults go, no, that's wrong. That's bad. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Imagine how
Yeah.
impacting that is.
There's the other aspect of this too. And you said art, and it triggered a session I had, and she had and I do this to myself, have these big expectations on myself of how I'm supposed to be a healer. So I recently was able to break through that. I thought I had to carry everything for others in the collective. I had to put up boundaries, and I had to figure out what I really love to do. And what I love to do is to, of course, connect people with their higher dimensional selves. And I like enjoy it and I love that. But there's also this other side of myself that goes back to my childhood, and that's love for animals and my connection with animals. And it's like my next modality or my next step in my journey is going to be a peaceful life that has something to do with animals. And I hold that in my knowing. So this is my contract now, and I move forward through that. But she knew she was a healer. Like they kept telling her higher self kept telling her, like, and her team was like, you're a healer, you're a healer. But she's like, but I don't know how to do Reiki. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And they were like, no, your art. Think about what you're encoding into your art. You've done this, like you're singing your voice. There's so many expectations on a spiritual awakening too, or how we heal people spiritually. But of course, we know we have to heal ourselves. And that also helps with, the grid and the ancestral line and others. But also like releasing our expectations on how we're spiritual too. What if you're encoding by just talking to someone? What if you're walking by someone at the grocery store and your aura is so big and beautiful that you're affecting them energetically? What if it's that simple?
Yeah, just smile, right? You can change someone's day by smiling at them.
Right.
And I mean, this is the thing, are the spiritual people, not that I like that term, right?
No.
But is a real spiritual person someone, sitting on a cushion in the lotus position with a funny hat on, telling people what to do? Or is it someone walking around helping people and smiling and creating, happiness and whatever in the world? Because, there's a saying, right? We can be so heavenly, what is it? We can be so heavenly good or so heavenly bound that we're no earthly good. Some people are living in these lofty high states so much that they're unrelatable. They can't help anyone. So what's the point? Because I kind of think we're here to, sure, we're eternal spiritual beings, but we're here having a physical experience.
Yeah.
We need to be physical. We need to have it while we're here, because what's the point of having a physical experience and spending that whole experience trying not to be physical? Kind of
Right.
It's like, you might have missed
Defeats
the point.
the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing that you say that too, because that's something that, we all are breaking through too, is most of us who are awakened per se, spiritual people. We are multidimensional beings, and we are in this physical body on an earth plane that has been kind of uncomfortable for us, like physically, mentally, our surroundings. Like I said before, family units, I know that resonated with you too, where you feel like you've been seeing this too, where a lot of us are incarnated into particular family units for soul contracts, or just energetically, all of us being awakened and feeling a little separated, isolated, and alone, right? But there's also this aspect of like, I don't know, I feel like it's time for us to just enjoy ourselves unapologetically, be the self, and then that energy extends outward, right?
Yeah, I think it's a funny time, isn't it? Because we're all trying to, create something. Even people who aren't awake to what's going on, a lot of them have lost their job and they've been forced into having to, create something different, or get a new sort of direction. But the hard thing is, how do we do that? Like, a lot of people, like, let's create the new world, and they sort of go back to reference points from the old world.
So that's right. Yeah, of course.
We can't do that. We've got to try and create from somewhere, I guess it's going within again, right? Rather than going without. It's like,
that's what I was just seeing in my head, the heart center, right?
Yeah. Because we know there's all these things that need to be replaced now, right? We've got the education system, the medicine system, all these politics and all this. So I think, instead of trying to fix a broken system, we need to start building new foundations.
Yeah. And that's so true too, because I think most of us would agree that we don't want to take those patterns, and we have to become so not detached per se, but I don't want to take that up for my future children. I don't want to take up for anyone's future children, especially, the children coming in and stuff like that. You talk of the school system. I know that you said you were an observer and you moved around school to school. And I know my own experience too, that school system was not designed for children like us, or children like the children coming in, or even children in general. Who am I to say, because like you said, as we're children, we are that aspect of our beautiful, expansive, creative self. And then the program comes in. So maybe some of these people are just so deeply programmed, and that's okay, outside of the NPC energy, and that they're going to wake up exactly when they need to. It's like but it's also, I feel like starting with the school system would be really, really important. But it's true, like the healthcare system, we're watching that collapse, the political stage. It all feels like kind of this weird, at once all of this needs to go, and expect the unexpected and allow surprises to come forward, because it's not going to look the same. It can't look the same. We can't bring that forward, right?
No, not at all, because it's the false creation, isn't it? Like, we've got to start getting back to basics, and I've said it for years, but we've already got all the answers. Like, we do. Like, as a collective, we've got, permaculture, so we know how to grow food. We've got free energy devices. We've got, architecture that works, that's based on natural geometry and natural, fibers. We've got everything we need. We really do. But as long as we're seeing a future that is based on the past, then we don't, then we think we don't, because we kind of say, oh, well, how do we get all these computers and internets and shops? And we don't need any of that. It's a different.
No.
We're going somewhere different. So
That's so true. Releasing our expectations about like technology too, because higher dimensional technology brings forth healing, and like you said, free energy, quantum, and that's going to even look, of course we're a little bit aware of the free energy, we're there's enough of that evidence, but especially now coming forward and how we're going to go forward with that. But releasing expectations about like having this weird social media thing where we have to pretend we're something we're not, and doing the views and the likes, I don't think anyone actually I bet people like it, but for me personally, I would be pretty happy if our internet system went down and everyone just grabbed a book.
Yeah. I mean, imagine instead of going on Facebook, you actually walked into the center of your town and there was people there and you could talk to them and you could go, wow, that person likes me, actual like, rather than this false stuff. So and I guess in the end, it's really just getting rid of everything, because everything technical is kind of separates us. Look, now you can talk on a telephone. Oh, look, now you can have a voice or like a video chat. You can see the person. You can do this. You can stay at home and order your shopping online. All this kind of stuff. It's separating us from interacting with each other. So that's definitely what we want to get away from. And all these black mirrors and phones being given to 8-year-olds, and like someone said, I was just listening to something the other day, and they it's a good point, right? Every kid who has a phone, they've pretty much got access to whatever they want on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And obviously,
it starts that young too. That goes back to, of course, like, and I hate to be like this, but the sexualization energy too, it does. And also the stimulation and the instant gratification, that's a frequency, and I've noticed with my nephews and stuff, once they've had that screen, like they don't want to let go of the screen.
It's designed more for our kids than us, but it's designed for all, to get your attention and to grab your attention. All the social medias, right? You're sitting there going, oh, has anyone seen my post? Oh, did I get a like? Oh, my phone binged. Oh, who's, like it's based on dopamine and giving us a hit. But I mean, all the screens are black, right? And black is like a scrying mirror, like so
it's a portal. That thing is a AI portal, low key. I know it, we all know it. But you're talking about something really interesting too, because I'm aware of that, but I'm curious if you've noticed this too. I've been noticing so of course I'm thankful for like Zoom and YouTube and all of us being able to connect who are, all over the place. And I send my gratitude for that. I think quantumly we're always connected. And I also think that'll be the future too, is we'll have a different way of quantum communication. And of course, telepathy coming back. And it's interesting because you said gardening and I was thinking of gardening. So it's like already signs of that kind of energy too, but community, people are, I'm telling you, the one thing that comes up almost every single day in sessions are people are looking for their peoples, their love, their equal exchange. Like they are craving community, and I think even people who are unaware are probably craving that kind of community too, even if they're still doing it through the phone. They're all craving something instead of craving that dopamine, like you said, or the screen or the likes or the false reality of the self that they try and portray on the internet. They really just need to get back to community. And once you bring community back, you go back to nature, you go back to talking to people, like you're talking about going in the square and talking to people, but also how we raise our children too. It goes all full circle to how we want to raise our children with the community too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to get back to smaller communities, right? Where we actually know people. Because when you know everyone, there's no crime. If everyone knows each other and someone commits a crime, everyone knows who it is and they get dealt with very quickly, and then it doesn't happen again. If people are abusive or doing the wrong thing anywhere, they get pulled up, and it's not acceptable. And that's where we need to be, because when you get big populations, it's so easy for them, like no one knows their neighbor anymore. No one knows what morals they have. It's very easy to judge people when you don't know them, just on one little event. Oh, they must be evil because they played loud music or something. And so, yeah, community's a massive one. We're being fed this story from the media, right? That it's trying to tell us how everyone is, how your neighbor is. This is what they believe, but it's not true. And if we're not out there meeting these people, we don't know that. But if we are, then we can watch and go, well, that's crap. I just spoke to people just then. What are they talking about? So I mean, communities, and then they know, right? Strength. They know that we're more powerful together, and when we can talk, that's why they try and keep us apart. But again, their plans are just backfiring. Everything they try just makes it worse for them, because they just can't help themselves. Like, look at all the censorship, right? Everyone's now like looking at their social media, going, well, what's the use? I mean, whatever I post that means anything that gets deleted anyway. So social media in the last couple of months has just gone boom, through the ground. Really, no one cares anymore. YouTube's almost unwatchable. Like YouTube's just.
I can barely. I can say that I used to be one of those people that I had like shows like I enjoyed watching, and it would be like a part of my nightly routine. I don't anymore. I mean, every once in a while, if something resonates with me and I want to click on something, like I'll trust. It's kind of like going back to that, like I don't have a set routine. If I feel drawn to watching something, I know I'm supposed to, watch it in that moment, right? But I'm with you too. I got kicked off Twitter like a year ago, and I just felt like, what's the point? I can't even speak my truth. Like, and it wasn't even that big of a deal. Whatever I said, like, it wasn't that big of a deal, at least, in my reality, but it's probably for the best I got kicked off Twitter anyways, because, Twitter also is another scrolling thing. I don't have Facebook or Instagram. I just have my YouTube, but the other thing you were talking about that's interesting is them keeping us apart. It goes back to like the 6 feet thing. They kind of made that obvious too, like, and you said even smiling at someone can change their day. Yeah, you're right. All of this has been introverted but so obviously now that it's working, I believe, on purpose in our favor, but also because they're scrambling, and this energy won't and shall not continue, right?
Oh, it can't. It's breaking down. It's I think we're getting very close. I mean, I know people have been saying that for 2 years now, but I really do. I think it just feels like we've hit this sort of lull, and it feels like there's a lot going on. And obviously a lot's starting to come out in the media in this whole, Russian war. Can I say that? It was imploding within a week.
Oh yeah.
Whole narrative, like normally they've been able to get things, and it's normally a month or two that they can get away. Like it was
this
a week.
One went fast.
It was just like no one believed it, and now they've gone to the point where they got the dude on the Oscars. Was it the Oscars? Was it or the Grammys? Or
yeah,
something?
He went to one the Grammys. The So what are you saying? He's also an actor.
He's an
like,
actor.
Hello,
they're telling you.
I know. They're showing you, right? They
Yeah.
had, well, one, they had to show us for the longest time, like The Simpsons, but now I think that whole thing got thrown on their head. They've wanted to tease us for such a long time of what they've been doing or playing in the fake free will game, pretending we had free will and being able to bypass that. And now it's like what they were doing before, they're amplifying it. One, because it's obvious, but two, I think it's all for us. It's all for us. It's all for us to see how crazy obvious and the plans, maybe even like, why I think people doom and gloom sometimes is because they're showing you what their plans might have been, right? Like that would be why people would think something's going to happen. But we also have to hold in our knowing that, of course, like we're safe and sovereign and protected, that we are, have people on our side, but we as humans are also safe, sovereign, and protected. But I think it's getting amplified for waking people up, and now for us to begin to start this journey of, like you said, like it's kind of obvious to the point of like we can start to celebrate now. Like you said, I really do feel like something is, I hate to be like my team and say like future, near future, soon, very soon, but I feel like we really are at that very soon portal. I feel like that's where we are now.
Yeah, and the more of us that believe that and live that, then the closer we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're the creators, right? So this is the whole thing, and with all this, I think it's also showing us that these leaders are just, they're fools, right? which kind of, there was this perception of, well, no, you can't do it. You've got to be rich, or you've got to have this, education, or this degree, or you've got to have it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think now everyone's realizing that the people running the show are just idiots, and we can do it so much better. It's not that hard. We're seeing that they're just idiots. They're just robbing us blind and not doing anything, and everything still runs. So I mean, how much we could make it so much better with just a little bit of thought. Imagine if we actually put a lot of intention into it, what we could do. So yeah, I think we're just in the great unveiling, right? The apocalypse, the revealing. And we get to look at it any way we want, and whichever way we look at it and believe is what's true. So there's people out there, I think, that are going to a lower vibration if they haven't gone already. And so when they run around yelling it's bad, well, in their reality it is bad, but we have the choice to believe that or to create something different and go, well, you're crazy.
Yeah. And like accepting, I that goes full circle too, to accepting their soul path and their reality too. And that, like you said, we've all tried to force feed our families and people around us all the information, but it goes back to respecting their soul path and their choice for their reality too. I also have noticed people have been really hard on themselves recently. Like they really want to do something to help, and it's like they don't know how much they're doing by just being here on the earth plane. One, how much internal healing they've already done. But like you said, just setting your intentions or shifting the day a little bit and just shifting into that place of like, this is what I want. And this is what this doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to take this with me, but I do want to take this. Oh, this feels right. And starting to really focus and shift their energy on that. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel this crap. I'm not one of those people that's like love and light all the time, because no, we're moving through a dense planet. And sometimes it physically, mentally, and emotionally, it can hurt and it sucks. But how can we begin today to start to alchemize that and plant the seeds of maybe something we do want, even if it's not a huge quantum leap yet? What can I start to do today?
Yeah, I agree. And it doesn't have to be anything big, and just be something little. And for a lot of people, it's just holding energy. Just holding good energy is
hold the line.
Just hold the line. Yeah. Because if you can imagine, if there's 100,000 people all just holding that vibration, that makes a big difference. So whatever it is, to anyone watching, don't feel it has to be some massive gesture. It just has to be what you feel is right, what feels good to you, and just do it. If that's going and gardening and being happy, do it.
If it's taking a nap, that's mine. I'm like, I'm gonna take a nap today.
I know, I've got to work on that one. I feel guilty when I do that. I wake up like, oh my God, did I waste time? Oh, I should be doing
You're probably busy in your dream space. So think about that too, because you guys are very, very busy in your dream space. So remember that you got to rest when you got to rest too. And letting go of your human expectations on sleep too, because I've talked to so many people that do not sleep well at night anymore.
No,
I don't either. I don't sleep.
it's like I almost don't sleep, and then during the day, I'll just in the afternoon I'll fall asleep for a few hours, and that's it, kind of thing. So, but that's all getting back to the old system, isn't it? We think, oh, you need 8 hours a day, and why? Oh, because you got to get up to go to a job. Hang on, we don't have jobs anymore,
Whoa.
do we? So bugger that.
What? You mean we can do what we want? And I do like to hold space that I understand, like people totally still have their, jobs that they're going to, and they still have to, play a part in the human life. But what can you do if this is still your reality and your human life? You don't have to go jumping off the ship anytime soon if it doesn't resonate with you. Do what feels right. But how can you start your day just a little bit differently? Like, can you say, okay, I got like no sleep. I'm gonna maybe take a nap after work, even though I feel like, I shouldn't be doing that. Letting go of expectations on the self is just, or starting your morning with your tea and blessing your tea. That's just like a little shift.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
wear a color that makes you happy.
yeah.
Well, I'll wear yellow.
It's just right on a piece of glass. I'm having the best day ever. Pour your glass of water before, the night before, and then drink it in the morning, and see what happens, right? Because these are all the weird stuff that they tell us doesn't work. I think that's all the stuff we need to be doing, right?
We do. That whole placebo effect, I'm telling you, it's been coming to my reality more of like, it's not a placebo effect, it's us. We're the powerful ones, right?
They tell you in the placebo effect, it's only the fact that the people believe it's going to work that makes it work.
Believe it.
It's a belief. Like if you give a placebo to someone and they're like, this is a sugar pill, this ain't going to work, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's the belief, which is energy, right? So, and if you can heal you, and that's a good point. If you can heal yourself from a disease with a sugar pill because you believe, you can believe yourself into anything.
That's amazing to think about. Yeah, that cellular data of disease too, and starting to not own the disease. We're also understanding that there's a whole part of disease that, comes forward in these sessions too, about like the soul contract and agreement of why, someone has a disease. And for example, I had someone who had MS and they were like, yeah, she's disconnected from her body, but it was done on purpose so that she could connect in the higher dimensional realms. And she needed more rest and more time to herself so that she wasn't taking on other people's energy because there's a particular job she's doing in the astral right now. And it was just like this huge broad perspective, but they always finish with, this will be healed. This shall be fine. It's okay. All is well. And I think that's the most interesting thing I've seen is through all the conflict and stuff like that, the repeat message I've been getting from higher dimensional aspects of the self is all is well. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. While you're in this hanged man, crazy position, like you said, we're feeling a little stuck. We're feeling like we're going through the cloud of density, the fog of war per se. And it's like, well, what can you do? Well, try and take care of yourself and try to find your little joy, no matter what that is, and feel the crap, cry it out. If you got to cry, take a salt back and just cry to some sad music. And then you shift it with the tools in your tool belt, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what it is in the end. It's, if it is to be, it's up to me, right? So, and
I'm the captain of this ship, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. We're here to create the new world. So let's get out and do it. So, all right. Wow, we could go for an hour and a half. That went quick. You just got to say hello and we didn't stop, did we? All right, cool. So just before we go, so what is it? You've got your own channel on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I have YouTube and then I have a small website too. But other than that, I don't really have anything.
That's cool. Send me the links. We'll put the links below. And so what is it that you do in your work? Do you do regression?
Yeah, kind of. I do beyond quantum hypnosis healing. So basically it's Dolores Cannon's method, but it's a little bit modified. It's done by Candace Crawford. I almost did QHHT, which is Dolores Cannon's method. But there were some limitations. Now it has came out that Dolores has been channeled and she was absolutely understanding that it can be multidimensional and that things can be done quantumly through the internet. But at the time when I signed up for BQH and took my classes, it was that you could do the remote. And that resonated with me because I'm kind of like an awkward little turtle. And so I did a couple in-person sessions, because, I had the opportunity to do so, but I've also been able to talk to and work with more people quantumly through things like Zoom, for example. But basically, BQH is a form of hypnosis, but I don't even like to call it hypnosis because it's a heart-to-heart center connection. And we go deep, deep, deep into the subconscious, and whatever needs to come forward will come forward. So sometimes it is past lives, sometimes it's future lives. I had a gentleman who actually saw himself as an archaeologist. He was really sick and he wasn't sure if he was going to get better. And, you know, he saw himself as an archaeologist. And so that was beautiful. And then at the very end, we pull forward the higher aspect of the self to answer any questions that they have questions about too. So it's a long process, but it's a really beautiful process. And one of the best parts about it is that whatever needs to come forward for you comes forward for you in that now moment. It's always different for everyone. So it's kind of cool too, because it kind of adjusts to each person.
Sounds good. All right. So anyone who's interested in that, wants to contact Taylor, then the links will be below. Go and check her out. Have a chat and yeah, see what your higher self is trying to tell you maybe. So
I'm just going to tell you you're doing a good job and they love you.
all right. That's what we all need to hear at the moment. So there you go. Yeah, nice to meet you, Taylor, for our first little chat there. So yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, have an awesome day and maybe we'll catch up again in the future sometime.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time and your space and your energy, Campbell.
No worries. Thank you for being here. Have a great night. It's nighttime there, isn't it? Yeah.
Have a good day. Take a nap.
I'm just starting. Yeah, I'm in the future. Yeah, I'm going to get back to bed definitely.
Okay, good.
Cheers. Have an awesome night, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.